Hi there, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Betsy and I bake a lot. So with everything I bake, there's usually a memory. And when I thought about what I wanted to make for the first one, it was very easy. My thought went right to college when I used to walk to class and walk through the old Capitol Mall, and more times than I should have, I would buy a monster cookie at the cookie shop. So after college, for years, I tried to recreate this recipe. And for the life of me, I couldn't get it right. And I had a chance encounter with someone, and we were talking about the University of Iowa, and he made a comment that he used to work there. And he said, you know, there's no flour in that recipe. And that was the key. So went home, and from that moment on, had perfected the recipe. So I have recreated the monster cookie I used to eat way too much in college. For this recipe, well, everything I make starts with butter. Very few things do I use anything but butter. And I use salted butter. There's no reason for that, I just like the taste of it. I know a lot of recipes don't call for that, but that's how I bake. So this recipe starts with 1 cup of butter, 1 1/3 cups of brown sugar, and with brown sugar, you know it has to be packed in there. You never just scoop regular brown sugar, you gotta pack it in there. So 1 1/3 cups, I've got 1 and now 1/3, and then 1 1/3 cups of regular sugar. And that, I just kind of shake it to level it off. Good enough. Whenever you're baking, butter and sugar get mixed first. They get creamed together, then we add other ingredients. Then we're gonna add peanut butter. 2 cups of peanut butter. Again, I always go with chunky peanut butter. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for the brand of peanut butter other than this is the one I like. You can use whatever you want. I prefer chunky peanut butter. 2 cups, and we'll add that right in. Now from there, we're going to add 5 eggs. I learned early on in food safety when I had the bakery that the key to eggs is washing your hands after you crack them. So I will always do that. So once we get that mixed up, next we add some dry ingredients. A teaspoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of baking soda, and with baking soda, you just flatten it out by rubbing it on the top of the box. And the vanilla, 1 1/3 teaspoons of vanilla. I know people always say you have to be precise with baking, and I don't disagree with them. But I tend to be a little loose with that. It still turns out great. And I'm baking for family. I'm not baking to win a competition, so I would rather go with taste than anything. Okay, once I've got that all mixed, we're pretty much there. All we're gonna add now is a lot of oatmeal and our M&Ms and chocolate chips. Now, I will tell you, this recipe doesn't have flour. I can't go so far as to say it's gluten-free. It is not gluten-free the way I'm making it today because I haven't sourced the ingredients properly. But this recipe could easily be sourced to be gluten-free. Oatmeal is contaminated with gluten, but there is gluten-free oatmeal. So, if that's something you want to do, this recipe could easily be converted to that. So I'm adding 6 cups of oatmeal. And now this one gets a little tricky because it wants to fly all over. So you be careful when you turn the mixer on with this one. See, that's what happens. And then all we have left is our chocolate chips and our M&Ms. 1 1/3 cups of M&Ms. Never a problem if you had too many of those. And 2/3 of a cup of chocolate chips. And that's it. All we're doing is making sure it's blended really well. So when I make cookie dough, and I make it a lot, I don't ever actually bake off the entire batch. I learned when I had the bakery, to make the cookie dough during slow times and to freeze it. So if you were to go look in my freezer, you would find many, many Ziploc bags full of little balls of cookie dough. And it just makes sense because now when I have guests coming over or the kids bring people over, I am 30 minutes away from fresh cookies. I pop the oven on, I go downstairs, I pull out X numbers of balls of cookie dough, and while the oven is warming up, they're thawing, I pop them in the oven. 30 minutes later, I have a variety of cookies available to go. So this particular cookie, since it's a monster cookie, is much bigger than normal. The scoop I'm using is 1/3 of a cup. It makes a huge wad of cookie dough, but ultimately it's a monster cookie and that's what we want. So I would just ball these up, do the whole tray, stick them in the freezer, and tomorrow, the next day, go down there and throw them in a Ziploc bag and date them. And then I'm ready to go. This particular cookie gets cooked for at least 15 minutes at 350 degrees. I say that roughly, every oven's different, and I use a convection oven. So for me, it's 15 minutes at convection. You would have to try it at home. But start with 15 minutes, take a look, and you'll be able to see if it's done. If not, add a minute or two, and once you figure out what it is, write it in your book, you're good to go. I hope you love this one as much as I do. It is one of my all-time favorite cookies because of the memories it takes me back to. So this is the finished product. Chewy on the inside, crunchy on the outside, chock full of M&Ms, and this takes me right back to walking to class in college. I hope you enjoy them as much as I do.